Okay, how's it going? So today we're going to work on a ambient track that should be pretty easy. Right now I'm using a program called Ableton Live 10 Standard. Um, Most of the time when I make my music, I choose to use plugins, which are very useful for making your own sound, making you differentiate from others. But in this case, I'm going to just use the sounds provided in Ableton. Ableton's a DAW, largely used for electronic music, ambient music. However, you could use it for anything. I use it for sound effects. I use it for all my music. It's very versatile. And along with the fact that you can download so many plugins and get everything dialed into the way you want it to sound, you can also use external instruments. I highly recommend using some form of an external instrument if you can afford it. But today we're just going to focus on if you just have Ableton Live and you don't have anything else. Let's say, for instance, you don't even have a MIDI controller. You can also just use your keyboard to play notes. So I'm going to show you a very simple way to just make an ambient track, a droning kind of ambient track. You don't really have to know music theory in a sense, but you do need to have a good ear and find what works, and I'll go over some tidbits and things like that to help you understand things like attack, which is very important for drawn out notes. So let's begin. So first off, I've got a MIDI channel here. Right now I'm also recording my audio for this video in the audio channel. That's where you'd plug in external instruments, microphones. With that said, let's go into our instruments section in our collections. So there's instruments. That's where you find your MIDI instruments, your synthesizers. Then there's audio effects, where you have a variety of audio effects. And then you have your MIDI effects, which we'll be utilizing today to simplify things. So first thing, let's find an instrument that would be good for an ambient, let's say horror kind of sound. There's already a section called Ambient and Evolving. We can try this out. Let's see how it sounds. So I'm just... Okay, it will automatically play sounds like that. How I typically do it, though, is I'll just add it, double click it, add it to my MIDI track. Okay, back to where we were. I was having some difficulty, so we'll just start from here. So this is a decent pad for something. It's a little too bright. Let's try this one. No. This would be great. Okay. Let's see if we can reduce some of that brightness. Okay, we need to turn the tempo down. Okay, let's add some notes to this pad to kind of make it more dynamic. It's important to have a sound that isn't too monotonous. You know, it'll get boring pretty quick. Okay, I like this. Okay, we'll add this every other. Extend the length of it. Okay. Okay, so that's a pretty good start. Let's go to and add another, let's say a pad. Actually, you know what? We could try experimenting with the MIDI effects. So let's say we want this to be in a more of a minor key. Just click on that, and there you go. It's every note that's going to be played is going to be within C minor. You can change it to any other bass. So let's say we want it to be E, for instance. Okay, so we got a nice quiet sound. How about we add a delay to it so that the notes seem to drag on longer. Okay, another thing we can do, go back to the MIDI notes, we can add a chord. Let's add a let's see, let's do our own. Let's just add an octave chord to it. So we'll just drag this behind the minor key, and we'll just go +12. There we go. So already it's sounding pretty decent. Okay, so since we're going to be in this chord, we can copy it, put it in this one. This is going to be our new track. Let's go find an instrument. This time, let's go for like a bell, or in this case, mallet. This is kind of a spacey kind of sound. I like that. Again, delay is going to be our friend here. And of course, you want to be able to play your instrument. So you usually click, play here, but since I'm recording, I can't really do that. Everything should kind of work out here though, but let's make this a little interesting. Let's make this in 3/4 as opposed to just 4/4, so that there's more dynamics. And we'll just kind of randomly put notes in here. Let's change this. You can change your note length. Let's change that to something like this. Let's make kind of a descending noise, and let's see how that sounds. It's probably going to sound bad right now, but we'll add effects. There we go. Adding a lot of space, definitely helps. So I would say with this, the basics are covered. You do have some ambience going on here. Let's add an effect here. Let's say there's already reverb. Maybe let's add a chorus to give it some more timbre. Not too much. You can go crazy with this, but it more than likely won't sound good. And then let's add a auto pan, which will make it pan left and right. Change the length of it. Okay, and so far that's all good. So there's a very basic ambient track for you. It's important to, if you're not familiar with music theory, you can always use the MIDI effect for the key, and all the notes will be locked in. Just make sure you use that key in the other tracks. You can use the chord. The delay is very important. You don't really have to touch the delay as is, but you can change how fast it's bouncing. The filter helps. I usually turn that off. Let's change this to, let's say, like bounces on the 3rd and 4th note. Okay. And lastly, before you're all done, I would usually add a master effect. It's from the audio effects rack. And typically, I mean, there's all these different ones. You don't want something that's going to be overly compressed. Generally, the one I go with for something like this would be, let's say, a full chain master. And you're going to see that the sound is definitely going to change. It's a lot fuller. Everything is pretty much where it should be, volume-wise and such. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I'll be back with more, so just thank you for watching.